Good morning, everyone present over here in the last day or final day of our 3-day international seminar on Shakespeare and digital humanities. We have with us for the plenary session, which is the third session of this seminar, Dr. Vibha Sharma, who is professor in the Department of English, Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh. We welcome you, ma'am, in this seminar. And I believe that it's a long association with you personally and with Aligarh Muslim University. So this is a privilege, this is honor for us that you are again here to address our students and the research scholars present from across globe. Before I invite you to speak on the given topic, I would like to introduce you formally to our students and participants of this seminar so that they can understand that what kind of extensive work you have done to be here in this particular position. So Professor Vibha Sharma teaches in Department of English, Aligarh Muslim University. She currently serves as a member in charge, Public Relations Office, where she plays a pivotal role in shaping the university's academic outreach and public image. Recipient of National Teacher Award, she is acclaimed for her intellectual depth, research mentorship, creative pedagogy, and institutional vision. Her work spans an impressive interdisciplinary range encompassing theatre and performance studies, translation studies, Indian English literature, cultural studies, environmental humanities, and English language teaching. A prolific academic, Professor Sharma has presented papers and delivered lectures at numerous international and national conferences, and her research has been published in leading journals and edited volumes across the world. A committed researcher and mentor, Professor Sharma has successfully supervised 17 doctoral scholars. Since 2013, she has served as visiting faculty at Stockholm University, Sweden, and has been awarded prestigious international fellowships to Germany, Japan, Chile, Nepal, besides presenting her research in Spain and Austria. She successfully completed her tenure as Deputy Coordinator of the DRS UGC SAP Phase 2 program on translation studies. Professor Sharma conceptualized and coordinated the Gyan course, unraveling the problem of history, exploring African and Indian writing. Her Swayam MOOC studies in theatre is widely recognized and appreciated. Her academic leadership extends to international collaboration in teaching, training, and literary research projects. She has been awarded scholarships by Regional English Language Office, American Center, to pursue advanced courses at the University of Maryland and University of Oregon, enhancing her engagement with cutting-edge pedagogical practices. So we welcome you, ma'am, and Dr. Vibha Sharma will be talking on the digital bard and the ecological imagination, re-situating Shakespeare in the age of Anthropocene.
Thank you very much, Dr. Neha. Before we begin, I'll take few minutes. Of course, you can deduct these minutes from the time that I'm going to speak. I must put some words on record about the organizer, the convener of the seminar, my senior in the department, Dr. Yahya Bhai, Dr. S.M. Yahya Ibrahim. I think he's a face to reckon with City College and a prolific scholar in his own right. And he has bestowed upon us so many opportunities to speak like this, to connect like this. And of course, I've been to Karim City College and have very fond memories of the visit there. So to think of an event like this and on a topic which is so new, so fresh, is very, very stimulating for all of us. I think more than delivering a plenary address, it's an opportunity for him to loud discussion, loud thinking.
There is some issue with the audio, ma'am.
Am I not audible? Hello?
Now you are audible.
So I was trying to say that it's a new topic, and we don't have any conclusive things to say, and we are also not in a very um, positioned in a situation which is objective enough to accept, reject, or synthesize something very constructive out of what is going on. Because 50 years from hence, the scholars will be talking about today's times, will be more privileged with information and data. And we are in a society and a time which is hyper realistic, hyper informed, and bombarded with information and visuals all the time, constantly, which makes us, this whole process actually has made us the part of what we are talking rather than the audience of what is happening around us. We are also data, we are also algorithms, we are also impressions in the virtual world. So what are we creating is also impacting, but we do not know how much and how it should be analyzed. So talking about all this in times of data, in times of algorithms about Shakespeare is actually to stir up hornet's nest, because he is the man to go with for all of us in English studies. And if we are talking about Shakespeare, we sometimes we feel that we have to be very precarious, we have to be very cautious, we have to be careful. But then at the same time, when we dig out Shakespeare's own making, the becoming of Shakespeare, what he is in the English classrooms across the world, and we find that what not has been done to Shakespeare, what has not been done, what has not been said about Shakespeare, what has not been read about Shakespeare, and what not has been written about Shakespeare. So why not now? Why not now? Let's go ahead and do something of that same sort. Maybe these are baby steps in a direction which will be something very important in years to come. So with this premise, I actually did something very daring, that I've taken up digital humanities and environmental humanities together, because I know that the next seminar will be on Shakespeare and environmental humanities. So I have booked my seat already there by presenting a topic which has the merger of the two. And the second thing is, after yesterday's keynote address, I was wondering, am I left with anything to say? Because there was everything covered, from technique, technology, art, aesthetics to in philosophy. So, pardon me if I may sound repetitive. We are allowed to commit mistakes because we are in a new area of field, and let's celebrate. Please allow me to share my lack of knowledge with you now that Yaya Bhai has brought me on. So here I go. I'm going to start some few things. You see that I'm a person of theater studies. I consider myself a very humble scholar of, or I should say, a research scholar of uh, theater studies, performance cultures, and the length and breadth of theater world that I've traveled, a couple of countries and a couple of cities in India. I've seen that performance is is a process that when it begins, uh, it takes its own shape, size, and momentum, irrespective of what is happening around it. And Shakespeare belongs to the core of performance cultures across the world. Shakespeare is now one of the aspects of the souls of performance cultures, whether it's Kathakali in India or no performance in Japan, and maybe some kind of ballets in Poland, or let us say the musicals in New York, like, or you know the the things like which are very close to each performance culture in the name of indigeneity, religion, rituals, folk tradition. Shakespeare is everywhere, and that is not because of Shakespeare as a person, but because of the open arms that Shakespeare's language offered to the people of the world to be interpreted. It's the sheer power of the words and the gaps in the dialogues which allowed any performer to enter into those gaps and be exposed, be twisted, be turned, be innovated according to the scenario, according to the situation. For example, I have watched Bisaria Saab's, there's a theatre person in India, Bisaria Saab, he belonged to Bharatendu Kala Academy in Lucknow. He wrote Othello in Nautanki Shali, not just a presentation of in Nautanki medium, but the entire play was adapted into Nautanki Shali. I have seen Kathakali, famous drama tradition of dance drama tradition of South India. Shakespeare's plays in Kathakali. When so some this is the beauty of Shakespeare that when he is juxtaposed with Duryodhan and Mahabharat, his villains become as much Indian as much as they are British, as much as they are Japanese or Singaporean. So this kind of gap. This is possible only when those gaps which are present in a text are so inviting and so fruitful that they do not let you go away. They embrace you. That's why Shakespeare's plays are not more than even the lengthiest play of Shakespeare will not be more than 150 pages. I've not seen plays longer than that. But when they are performed, they can be transformed into movies of 4 hours, plays of overnight dramas. So this is all about the gaps. Performance is about not what is said, but what is invisible, and that invisible takes shape in the form of colors, hues, bodies, and music on stage. Now, those same gaps are available for the digital world. The same gaps. Those gaps are available to the people of digital creativity, people who are now born with, if I may use this idiom, the digital spoon in their mouth instead of silver spoon in their mouth. And the Gen Z and as well as the millennials both have, created wonderful Shakespeare versions on digital platforms in the form of movies, in the form of various other things. But the most important is in the form of memes, if you see around. I did not try to speak on it again because in my past presentation, when we met on Kafka, so I was talking about Kafka's memes. So I didn't want to go in that direction. But I'm simply trying to bring in those examples to talk about Shakespeare and digital world, how well versed Shakespeare's world is, even to the latest things that are happening around us. To be or not to be is not just now a literary quote. It is a meme sentence. It is a meme buzz. It is a hashtag. So if you just open up hashtag to be or not to be, you will find a millions of beautiful creations on digital space. Similarly, other dialogues from Shakespeare, like Iago, if you or if from Merchant of Venice, if you prick, do we not bleed? If you hashtag do we not bleed, you will find hundreds of such digital things created in the name of Shakespeare and in the name of interpretation that Shakespeare offers. So what I say is that data is huge. The quantum of data in the name of Shakespeare on digital space is not just literature, but also the collaborations between other mediums, the applications like Instagram, Snapchat, the hashtag revolutions, Facebook, then all the platforms on which you can draw different kinds of digital uh, uh, artifacts. If you want to read Shakespeare, you can go also with the help of Voyant. which is a very popular digital tool to read and dig out for the sake of language and words. Now, my take is slightly different from here now. We are living in 21st century, and there are two things, if we compare for the last century, like when we were educated in last century or a professional, what two things were expected? One was computer literacy and well versed in English speaking skills. But that is gone. That is the past era. In 21st century, if one is called educated, there are two things that are required. One is AI literacy, and the second is what do we have to say about environment? So if we do not have anything to say about environment, we need to have a perspective, we need to have some kind of understanding. So if we look at Shakespeare's plays are full of those situations which guide us into studying environment. Even though at the time when Shakespeare was writing, uh, the dramas were generally about castles, palaces, emperors, bedchambers. The information about battlefields, the information about forests were just brought on stage by the informants. They were not shown on stage. But when we look at King Lear, when we read plays like King Lear, when we read plays like Tempest, when we read plays like As You Like It, we see that we are actually navigating in forests, in rivers, in oceans, and with different animals, with people who are living in the forest. We are navigating with them actually in the play. And that was something very, very different in Shakespeare. That was not the norm of the time. That was not something which all playwrights before and after Shakespeare would dare to do, because that was not supposed to be shown on stage. They were just informed about that. So, what is the role of ecological symbols, ecological paradigms in Shakespeare's plays? Forests, jungles, the life in forests. Do they simply stand as symbols of some kind of escape, or do they actually exist as paradigms in their own right? Till now, ecologic ecology has been only treated as symbols in Shakespeare's analysis, in readings on Shakespeare, in studies on Shakespeare. But it's not true when we look at those plays carefully. If we look at King Lear, when we look at As You Like It, when we look at Midsummer Night's Dream or The Tempest, or even the discussions about ships getting struck in oceans, in storms, cyclones, and other things, we find that ecology is very much alive, very much in body, very much in flesh. The people of forest, the forest, animals, leaves, plants, water bodies, they are not just the backdrop in Shakespeare. And here Shakespeare goes miles ahead from the people of his times, from the artists of his time, because these very ecological representations that Shakespeare has provided today give very, very vast space to the presenters of digital medium to adapt his plays into very beautiful scenographic presentations on digital mediums. By just using a green screen, you can do a lot in Shakespeare's plays if you want to present forest, animals, uh, oceans, river bodies, fairies, skies, sunlight, and darkness. So here are some slides that I would like to share. How much time do I have?
You have sufficient time, 45, 50 minutes.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. Just give me a moment. I'm presenting a PowerPoint as well as some other things, so let me choose the right file.
You are not audible, ma'am.
The PPT is visible, Vibha, but your voice is not there.
Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, now you are audible.
Again, we can't listen. Yeah,
Just
no,
give me a
your
moment.
voice is cracking. There is some issue with the audio.
Give me a moment.
I think she has left and will rejoin.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. She will rejoin.
Am I audible now?
G, yes.
Yes.
Okay. So so let me begin with this. Like when we often assume that Shakespeare belongs to the past, as I was just now talking about, theatric, textual, theatrical, embodied past. But what happens when Shakespeare begins to exist primarily on screens, in archives, or in data systems? Just I talked about, in my opening discussion about how Shakespeare is present around us in different forms and how those gaps have been used from ever since Shakespeare's times till now. So Shakespeare can be understood not merely as a canonical author, but a site, where ecology, technology, and human imagination all intersect. So are we still reading Shakespeare or we are processing him? So this is pro- the word process is core to the discussion here. And when we look at this whole thing, how this can be converged, how this can be collaborated. So this particular thing, that can we think of ecology an interface not as opposites but as co-constitutive realities. You see that I was talking of 21st century as being the century where we can be considered educated and respected when we have things like uh, ecology and AI in our minds as two paradigms. But if we look at it very carefully, we'll see that the discussion about ecology are rooted also in the information that is being spread on the media platforms and the digital platforms. So the two cannot have stood without each other the way they are right now in our times. So can we think of these, the 4 points written here, the mapping the Anthropocene and the digital turn through cross-disciplinary study? So, how this human study can be cross disciplinary in Shakespeare's paradigm and ecological rereadings, and then from material to data, and also from data to material, as well as the ethics of access. Now, these are some aspects of the present day scenario. When you look at the student and the screen, imagine a student in a classroom, perhaps in any university like mine or the college, and if they search the forest of Arden, what appears on for them, what is visible on screen? And images, clips, some maps, metadata that would appear on screen. But where is the forest? And the word is key. The key word here is the data shadow. The forest is no longer encountered, it is assembled. It is assembled through various images. And the question is, does access intensify experience or replace it? So this question should remain with us. That this access that we are talking about, is it intensifying the discussion, the experience of the things that we are searching? Long back when we were reading British books, we were told that we need to Indianize literature. Uh, our students don't know Big Ben. Our students don't know pudding. Our students have not seen uh, things that are talked about in British literature. And so there was this whole discussion about decolonizing and nativizing. But do these questions still exist today in the times of pictures, metadata, images, videos, and things that are the online tours of museums, the online tours of places that Shakespeare wrote about, or the plays were staged about, or I'm talking of any literature per se. So this is a question that we need to ask. I'm not sure what is the answer at this moment. We all need to ponder about this, and we need to even think about it, that decolonizing and nativizing still exist the way they existed in our classrooms, and therefore the discussion of Shakespeare is has to be rewritten, has to be rerouted in teachers' mind as well as in students' mind from various from those perspectives. So I'm combining here the Anthropocene plus digital, and this is a dual turn that has taken place. This dual turn is uh, this diagram, as you can see, it is suggesting that we are dealing with interlocking systems. And what are those interlocking propositions? Ecological precarity, epistemic transformation, co-constitutive reality, and interconnected systems. And what is ecological precarity? We all know this, as we are reading literature with environment, we have come to realize some part of it. The Anthropocene era signifies a period where irreversible human actions have permanently and deeply affected the established planetary systems, that is ecological precarity.
Sorry
And
to interrupt,
epistemic
ma'am.
transformation is the digital turn fundamentally reshapes the core processes by which we produce, store, and experience knowledge in modern society. And co-constitutive reality, literature, technology, and ecology form a unified framework that dictates how we perceive and navigate the world in the current age. Interconnected systems, digital culture relies on physical server farms and extractive mining, binding abstract information systems to concrete ecological costs.
Ma'am,
So,
sorry to
these,
disturb. Slides are not shifting, so if you can just click on the
no, I'm on the
another
same
slide.
slide. I'm on the same slide, dual turn synthesis.
You said that you're talking about some diagram actually, so that's why.
It's dual turn synthesis slide. The picture that is about this, the four bolts are there. They are, can you see that?
No, we are in slide number 5, rereading Shakespeare and environment.
No, no, no. I'm talking of, no, I'm talking of this slide. How, dual turn synthesis. मेरे सामने यही वाला नजर आ रहा है, मैंने आगे क्लिक भी नहीं किया. Is it visible? Dual turn synthesis?
No, ma'am, it's slide number 5. If like any other is seeing what
Just
ma'am
let me.
is, please let us know.
Is this was the slide that I'm talking about?
That is slide number 5.
I think I'll have to re-share because something has happened. I don't know
All
what
right,
has happened.
continue with your lecture. So we will not refer to PPT, but we'll listen to you whatever you're saying.
Maybe okay. Let me go on to that slide. I don't know how did I it jump to this next slide? Okay.
Yeah, please continue.
So this okay. Let me just quickly give you, even if you can't see that slide. I think I showed you the slide in which the four bolts were there, and they were just to show you that how the things are interconnected, and that's an interface of ecology and digital world. And that has four aspects to it. Let me repeat. I just now read it from the slide. I'll share the PowerPoint with you after my lecture, so it can be shared with others. If something is missed out, you can take it from there. So ecological precarity, epistemic transformation, co-constitutive reality, and interconnected systems I talked about. So the important thing is that digital does not escape ecology. Rather, it intensifies it. So the question arises, what if every act of reading today is already ecologically implicated? You see that we are not realizing right now, but if we look at the jargon of today's discussions, we'll see that we are very much into talking about ecology, whether it's our day-to-day dialogues, whether our classroom discussions of all subjects, our advertisements, our media world. We are actually using the jargon which is ecologically implied. And is it possible to observe it while doing it? So rereading Shakespeare and environment comes in question. So The position that this particular statement gives is that environmental humanities and post-humanism and performance studies, they all have been living together for last 2 decades. But now this has become very complicated because these are not frameworks imposed on Shakespeare. They are already latent within him. They already exist inside Shakespeare. So, moving from theory to practice, how do we revisit canonical sites not as pastoral escapes, but as active sites of ecological reconfiguration and negotiation? So, was Shakespeare ever anthropocentric, or have we simply read him that way? If you recount the plays of Shakespeare, you will find that Shakespeare, in his own style, was challenging that anthropocentrism, and especially in play like King Lear and Tempest, we see that happening because people around and Forest of Arden, uh, they have ecological reconfiguration in themselves. Are you able to see the slide now?
No, ma'am, it's stuck again. Uh,
The slide is not
just
moving. It is there. We can see, but it is not moving. Still, it is rereading Shakespeare and environment.
1 मिनट का मुझे दीजिए टाइम, मैं इसको रिप्रेजेंट करती हूँ. आई डोंट नो क्या
जी,
हो गया है.
श्योर
आपको भेज दूं क्या पीपीटी?
भेज दीजिए.
ऐसा होना तो नहीं चाहिए था. ये क्या समय है, मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा है.
Saket, can you help her?
साकेत थोड़ा असिस्ट कर लो प्लीज, अगर पॉसिबल हो
हाँ
तो उसको
विल डू
मंगा लो.
मैम, प्लीज शेयर इट, विल डू इट.
किसी का व्हाट्सएप या ये भाई आपके व्हाट्सएप पे भेज दूं क्या?
हाँ, आप भेजिए मेरे व्हाट्सएप पे, मैं साकेत को शेयर करता हूँ.
अच्छा ठीक है. आई सेंट यू. इट्स गोइंग. 1 सेकंड में डिलीवर हो जाएगा आपको. चला गया.
जी, रिसीव्ड. Saket? Saket, are you there? Sarah has sent the PPT on your WhatsApp ID also, and Saket says WhatsApp ID.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are working on it. Just a minute, sir, please.
Yes,
We are working
sure.
on it. Yes.
Ma'am, you are on mute. You have to unmute yourself.
I'm very sorry. So what I'm saying is, meanwhile we are presenting, I would like to show a short introduction of where the idea of digital platforms and creativity have been put together, which can be very very useful for us to decode things like these. It does not use directly the example of Shakespeare, but it is very beautiful, and it guides us in some way. So let us watch this.
Ma'am, which slide shall we move on to?
Vibha, unmute.
Slide, slide number 5. I think we were on slide number 5.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you go back? Yes, this was the diagram that I was referring to. And these were the four things: ecological precarity, epistemic transformation, co-constitutive reality, and interconnected systems. Okay, let's go on to the next. So I've talked about this particular thing where theoretical framework of rereading Shakespeare and environment can be done digitally. This is what I presented. And if you can see what is written here, that moving from theory to practice, how do we revisit canonical sites not as pastoral escapes? This is something that's important. Constantly, we have been talking of this, that whenever any mention of forest, any mention of forest expedition, jungle, or people takes place in Shakespeare, we often say that this is kind of an escape. So people are either going to forests or people are coming from forest. So what happens in forest? Why does forest stand for? Is forest in itself an entity? That is rereading. Next slide, please. So here, in this ecological reconfiguration, you can see that the four aspects: dissolution, fluidity, decentered, and risks. These four things are given here. So forest dissolves hierarchy. Forest is a place of equality in a very different sense, because forest is about balance. A small insect in forest also can be very dangerous for the ecology of the forest, as is the top-notch predators in the forest are. So it's about the hierarchy. The forest dissolves hierarchy, and identities become fluid. Environment enables performance of gender and status beyond restricted courtly limits. The courts have some gender issues, gender boundaries, and they are lost. And then it emphasizes that this is not a metaphor. This is ecological thinking. For Shakespeare, it is ecological thinking, even before the ecological discussions of today's existed. And now, digitization converts this living system into something navigable, into something clickable. So when the forest becomes interface, does it still resist us? Does it still stop us from entering it? So forest is a kind of interface in the world of digital atmosphere, digital medium, when we are rereading Shakespeare, and ecological reconfigurations that existed in Shakespeare's times, they were already creating those structures. Next slide, please. So ecology is not harmony, it is negotiation. You know, I have to take detours into ecological discussions because, it is not possible for me to speak about it. But I'm sure that some of you are aware of this very famous documentary, Burden of Dreams, Werner Herzog's Burden of Dreams. Werner Herzog talks about the fact that he gives a definition of nature, he gives definition of ecology. And would you believe that there is a word that he uses for nature, and he says that nature is vile, vile. He talks about nature as villain. And he says that I have heard people talk about the harmony, but he says the kind of harmony that I see around here, it's not erotic, it's not love, it's not sensual, but it's the harmony of murders, harmony of blood. One thing is getting killed, the other is getting murdered, and the third one is getting fed constantly. And nature has this very ominous kind of villainy, which we do not want to see, and that is very anthropocentric perspective, and that shocks us when we come across that villainy uh, time to time. So ecology is not just harmony; it's it's a negotiation. It is a negotiation to live. It is a negotiation to exist. Now look at the characters. Prospero is a symbol of control and mastery, whereas Caliban is relational existence. In digital adaptations, this complexity risks flattening because there is this saturation trap, as you can see, which is written here. VR, the VR over representation can obscure the ethical complexity of the colonizer nature and this dynamic, the colonizer nature dynamic. Similarly, the visual flattening, the digital adaptations prioritize high fidelity visuals, obscuring complex ecological tensions. And relational living, Caliban represents a deeply relational and non-exploitative connection with nature, natural land. Uh, Sometimes visuals are, sometimes not just sometimes, but visuals are over representation of only one dimension. But while navigating inside that scenario, it's not one dimensional, it is not representational of only one aspect. It gives us multiple directions, 360 version view. So, this ecological negotiation is not possible digitally, and that is something very difficult for the adapter, people who are into adaptation of Shakespeare for digital versions. That how should they portray Forest of Arden? Whose perspective should be there in Forest of Arden? Because forest is not simply a harmony, it is about the different kinds of existence, and they have to negotiate constantly with each other. Then, in the next slide, let's go to the next slide. If you look at the storm in Shakespeare's King Lear as uncontrollable, immersive ecological force that dismantles status. So, what is immersive? We have been discussing digital humanities since yesterday, and I'm sure all the scholars present here are also aware of that. A lot is said about the immersive experience that digital world offers to various literatures. So when you enter into a digital world, it is immersive experience. But when you analyze the storm in Shakespeare's King Lear as uncontrollable and immersive ecological force which dismantles us. So there are these aspects of exposing vulnerability, sensory disorientation, aestheticized effect, the ethical question, and physical agency. So environment has taken away from from the king, his status, and it has repositioned him as a poor, as a bear, and as a forked animal. In sensory disorientation, on stage, the violent storm unsettles the bodies of both the audience as well as the actor in a similar fashion. If there is a portrayal of storm on stage, how is it possible that that storm will not impact the audience also? And then aestheticized effect. On screen, the storm becomes a controlled uh, visual rather than that uncontrollable disorientation. And so this is the difference between the digital medium and the medium of a stage in which a storm was shown. So, what is lost when ecological violence is converted into a consummate, passive visual spectacle? That immersive experience of a kind is lost for the audience because audience could also feel that storm, could also feel maybe some sound of some instruments that were used, or the sounds of the air, the wind, the dry leaves, the animal sounds, whatever what was used to create that impact. And then the storm acts as an independent agent of chaos, of dismantling human order, regardless of regardless of intent. So this physical agency is lost when we are using this digital medium, and that is a kind of very important aspect of Shakespearean ecological representations. Next slide, please. Now, when we look at this material versus data ecology comparison, here we are moving into this comparison of a very structured kind. And what is this comparison? This is between the material engagement, characterized by sensory and contextual experiences, and the new data ecology, which focuses on algorithmic, abstract, and standardized information unit. So the basic aspects are, the material ecology to is representing unpredictability, resistance, and embodiment. And data ecology represents structure, accessibility, and abstraction. As you can see, the two tables here, the feature, material, and data. If you look at the material ecology, it is talking about living environment, sensory, unpredictable, physical entity, vulnerability, contextualized. And if you look at data ecology, it is about data set, algorithmic, researchable, digital interface, controlled immersion, and abstracted. So the primary units, where interaction, ontology, engagement, process, all are comparable for the material ecology as well as the data ecology. And we find that this comparison gives us that what disappears. What is it that disappears when complexity becomes computable? So should complexity remain always complexity? Should it be simplified in the form of numbers and data always? See, a forest represents a kind of limitlessness. A forest also represents a kind of infinity. How many leaves are there, for example, in the forest? We cannot count. How many animals are there in the forest? We cannot count. So this complexity, I'm giving this example only for the sake of the example, but that is part of Shakespeare's plays that exists. Forest is not just a symbol, a backdrop. It is a living physical entity. Its limitlessness, its infinity, its hugeness, its dangers, its disharmony, and its negotiability. They all teach, they all exist as part of people's life in Shakespeare. If it is converted into a data, countable, calculable, negotiable, will that impact the play? Will that change the play? Will that change the response of the play? Will that be a kind of add-on to Shakespeare, or will that be a loss to Shakespeare's audience? Maybe this will add some kind of clarity for the performers or for those who want to present it as some kind of data definable object, but a certain amount of vagueness that is required, a certain amount of confusion with which audience should leave after watching that play will be lost, and that is something that digital platform is offering and ecology is losing. Next slide. Now, this is about the sensorial excess. So we are moving on from the same discussion that we did just now, and now we come to the sensorial excess. So sensorial excess in digital environments. Digital tools cannot replace the decay, tense, unpredictable sounds, or physical disorientation. See, when you go to watch a play in theater, uh, a theater has its own smell. Uh, there are some plays. theaters which are so old that the wood architecture, the wood frameworks of the theaters have their own smell of longevity, of antiqueness, of history, of maybe some decay, of maybe the lack of mishandle they are not handled carefully, the lack of care that they are suffering with. And also on stage, you know I have a little bit done theater, and I've participated in theater on stage and acted. Let me tell you something very corporeal, something very physical, that when you walk on theater stage as an actor, you have a lot of smells and physical experiences around you. There's this makeup, there are those costumes, different kinds of materials of properties like plastic, wood, cloth, uh, polythenes, paints, uh, sometimes, dried leaves, decayed objects. They are part of you when you exist on stage as a performer. And those same smells go to the audience also. The audience is also, able to participate in it. You cannot restrict the smells. You cannot restrict those corporeal things, those sensorial things. They can see, they can feel, they can smell, they can maybe like it, they dislike it. It's all part of watching. Part of watching a play is not simply about watching perfected dialogues, spick span costumes, performers on stage. No, it's about the imperfections also, the imperfections of that whole atmosphere. Maybe somebody is too sweaty. Some people have their own smell. There is some particular object which is newly painted, or a kind of wood that exists. So it's all that also. That is, like if you go to um watch yeah, in Jamshedpur, I think you may get to see a chow dance. And if you go to watch that, you will see that when when you look at the performer's body from a distance, where you can see them actually, they are the living bodies, they are pulsating people. They are breathing, they are heaving, they are gasping for breath, their muscles are twitching, you can see them sweating, you can see them nervous. This is part of performance. It has to be there on stage. It is there on stage. You cannot stop it on stage. But the point is that this absence of sensorial access in digital environment. So how is it not a loss when and is it again the question is it not about ecology? Is it not about the the environment? We need to understand this, because um, the way we are able to um, I've seen very high end plays which are so technologically sound. Some musicals. I watched a lot of musicals in Japan, and some of them in some other countries, which were so techno savvy, so high in technology, that on stage everything was happening, and there was no attention of the audience on the bodies of the performers, or on the condition of the performers, because the sound, the music, the special effect, the lights were so much there, and we were all swept off our feet by the entire experience. Now, that was still saving something for us at the level of senses, even though that sensorial excess was not there, those perfumated atmosphere was not there. But now, even that is not going to be there, because you have a screen, and a screen is not just a fourth wall, but screen is actually a very opaque wall. It shows you something, but actually it stops you from being a person of sensorial eyes, a person with a person with senses. And that, when not get reciprocated, then I think that's a big loss. So I don't know, I'm not saying that it's good or bad, but I'm simply stating the fact. I'm simply probably observing something from my own perspective. And I feel that this should be sorted out. But then there is something very interesting. You can spread some smells. You can, eject some smells through some instruments. You have those, those objects on stage. You create, different kinds of rain, water, fog, so fumigations and all those things. But you can also create smells, and people do that. There have been plays where different kinds of smells and perfumes have been used to impact the audience. To what extent is it going to be same in ecological perspective? Shakespeare's Forest of Arden can have certain smells, and what kind of smells will those be? Will they be organic, or will they be something created by the atmosphere of technology? So this is a question that I leave for all of us. I don't want to answer this question. This is a thing which we need to understand by going and watching the plays, and by actually doing the plays. If we can do it, that would be even better, because it is not all the time possible for us to go and watch the plays, but we can do and feel the difference. So this is the point here, that sensorial access, ethics of vulnerability. The vulnerability is something very important. A true, it's an ecological ethic, and it may require the risk of being affected by the physical environment. So immersion versus exposure. Exposure is not as same as immersion, but digital technology looks for immersion, and Shakespeare's ecological experiences in the play look for exposure, that physical vulnerability, that actual physical vulnerability. And then the abstractions cost, reducing a forest to a data points, strips away its resistance to complete human understanding. It simply becomes an extension of the data and the algorithm. Next slide, please. So here we come, market impact. Shakespeare processed, rise of the digital Anthropocene bard. So Shakespeare is no longer only written or performed, he is also processed. What does it mean? It means three things: algorithmic systems, data informed reading, global circulation. So in algorithmic systems, of course, we all understand this, the interpretation is driven by search and user mediation. So, tomorrow, if thousands of people start searching for Shakespeare, whether Shakespeare was a South Indian woman, or whether Shakespeare ever visited Burma. If we start Googling this question, thousands of people start Googling this question. Interpretation driven by search and user mediation will lead to some kind of formation of Shakespeare as a process where some information will always remain. And then your chat GPT, when you will interpret, you will ask chat GPT whether Shakespeare ever visited Burma, was Shakespeare ever a South Indian woman, can, I'm just randomly doing something very radically false questions. So I will not be surprised if chat GPT will not flatly deny these questions. ChatGPT will probably leave, or any platform will leave us open-ended. Say that, there have been searches, the data exists because the large language model databases always work on the language that the users supply. And ChatGPT is a large language model. And the larger its data exposure to the language, the new algorithmic processing of Shakespeare will be available. And so is true about the data informed reading. The analysis, which is formed on the basis of data. It relies on computational textual indexing. And for that, the what kind of texts are there for computational textual indexing will matter. What quality? Obviously, those interpretations which are not available to computational textual indexing will not be part of data informed reading. So whatever we feed in, we'll get out of that. And global circulation, of course, Shakespeare processed and distributed as digital asset. And the more the data is available, the more it will be in the global currency. Shakespeare will be processed. So he then becomes node, a nodal point, okay, a node, which means he is now co-produced by systems. So Shakespeare is being co-produced by the systems. So the question that this discussion should lead is, who reads Shakespeare today? The human or the algorithm? Who reads the question? The algorithm is, I think, reading Shakespeare more carefully than the human. Next slide, please. The hidden environmental cost of our digital library. ये एक बहुत ही important question है. And we love to call it, that digitization, digital libraries, as if digital libraries exist in some kind of invisible space. They don't have to subscribe, or they don't occupy any physical space. And this iceberg metaphor is very useful for that. What we see is access. What we don't see is cost. And what are the costs factors? Energy intensity, extractive economies, material dependency, and of course, the ethical conflict. So what is energy intensity? The server farms and massive data centers require continuous and power constant cooling systems. And this is not only for Shakespeare, of course, it is for all kinds of digitization that we talk about. Where do these server centers exist? उसको वो लोग server farms बोलते हैं, just to mislead ourselves that this is something ecological, as if some kind of farming is this. But these server farms are big buildings. Imagine a pen drive, and if you have pen drive which is of the size of some building, and you need then many such buildings, and those are emanating constant radiations, you need huge, super huge air conditioning system for keeping them cool. That is data farms. And some of them exist under the oceans to keep them cool. And in the recent discussions in the war scenario, those data farms were also under attack, under threat rather, that we can threat the data farms. So think of this. And then extractive economy, hardware infrastructure depends on earth mining, which actively degrades local ecosystems. So, I love to talk about digital humanities in connection with environmental humanities. They cannot go away from each other. If you are talking of environmental humanities in the same world, that is 21st century, and if you are talking of digital humanities also, then we need to come to a point where we need to think of each other. If digital economies have to thrive, then environment cannot thrive. If environment has to be thought about, then digital humanities should actually assert more than digital technologies. That's why the role of people like us, the humanists, the digital humanists, is more than people who are simply digital technocrats. And because we are people of humanities, we are people of insaniyat, adabiyat, we are talking of the human values. Come what may, Shakespeare is about human values, and that's why his Forest of Arden, when converted into a digital medium, digital representation, may take away a lot of things. Yes, it can facilitate a lot of things. It can actually make theater available to those who can never get to see theater in their life. Yes, that is true. But what about the losses? What is the larger picture? That is also very important for us. So, material dependency, the third factor, every single click and stream is embedded within ecological consequence, remaining non-neutral. This is not non-neutral discussion. This is ecologically oriented discussion. This is ecologically oriented means either it is damaging, impacting, or enhancing its existence. So it is an ethical conflict. We frequently critique environment decay while relying on the tools that contribute to its harm. So this is my discussion here. And then the next slide, the building a reflexive digital methodology for the humanities. So it's a constructive turn now. So from that discussion, now I move on to this constructive thing. And the things that I offer is, see, rejection is not the answer. We cannot afford to turn a blind eye and say that I reject everything and I'll go to Forest of Arden or I'll go to Himalayas and I'll not look at the world. No, that is not going to serve the scenario. Rejection is not the answer. Reflexivity is. Reflexivity is the answer. Four principles that I offer are slow reading, embodiment, multiplicity, and infrastructure awareness. So, encouraging deep, focused intellectual engagement within current conditions of overwhelming data, abundance, and rapid information flow. Slow reading is the answer. If we Google, you'll find that go slow is a movement that has been going around for the last 30, 40 years. And we love to say that I'm a fast person, I'm a fast woman, the world is fast, but there is a movement called go slow. But I think more important than everything is slow reading. And then embodiment, reintroducing and integrating vital performance based practices directly into technologically mediated spaces and digital environments. This means, this particular thing, this embodiment means who should have the control of how will the digital space work for performance. The artist, the creative people, not just the technocrats, not just the MBA graduates who are working as CEOs of companies, but the people who actually are dancers, singers, musicians, actors, scriptwriters. This is not happening, and that you can see the present scenario of the performance culture, especially if you look at the cinema, the Bollywood. We have films which are larger than life because for us, embodiment has become the green screen and VFX, but not the ideas and the conceptualization that is provided by the real people, the ecology. And ecology means people, flesh, blood, ideas, sweat, smell, leaves, forest. Multiplicity, that is leveraging digital tools to purposefully demonstrate interpretive complexity rather than attempting to fix or finalize singular meanings. So open-endedness, multiplicity is very important. See, digital technology cannot create multiplicity on its own like a written text can do it on its own. There it has to be embedded, it has to be created. An infrastructure of cultivating critical awareness regarding hidden material cost and structural foundations that support our digital platforms. We say sustainable development. I'm giving you the example, for example. Sustainable development. Do you ever realize that this is an oxymoron? Either development or sustainability. It is an oxymoron. If we are not aware of the ecological infrastructure, the literary infrastructure, the language, the metaphor, the performance infrastructure, and the actual theater infrastructure, then we cannot create this reflexivity. This response has to be very, very rooted in all these things. Next slide, please. So, Shakespeare as a medium for interrogating ecology and Anthropocene. This is for me the final thing. So we need to reframe Shakespeare. Shakespeare serves as a dynamic medium for active thought rather than a static relic for academic study, engaging directly with our current complex ecology. His works create, so what I can simply say is that Shakespeare is not object, but now Shakespeare is medium. So we have to stop thinking that digital platform is a medium for Shakespeare. Actually, Shakespeare is the medium because he allows us to interrogate ecology, he allows us to interrogate technology, and he allows us to question Anthropocene simultaneously, which means that Shakespeare becomes the method. Shakespeare himself becomes, or the question of Shakespeare transforms into the method of digital world with ecological awareness. So his works create vital space to interrogate all these things. The objective is not to move past simply authenticity or simple, but to choose to inhabit the productive tension. We have to recognize that productive tension between ecological systems and advancing technologies. And critical practice, therefore, requires being attentive, being reflexive, ensuring that modern analysis stays firmly grounded in the physical reality of the current. And my final word is the next slide, please. That we do not stand outside the Anthropocene. We inhabit it. We are part of it. We are it. Likewise, we do not stand outside the digital. Let me repeat. We do not stand outside the digital. We think through it. We think through it. The task is not to choose between ecology and technology, but to inhabit. So I would call it a final provocation. The task is not to choose between ecology and technology, but to inhabit their tension responsibly. The last question that I leave all my listeners with: what kind of reader, scholar, and a human does this moment demand of us? What do we become at this moment? We need to ask this question. So, adopt reflexive, critical practices grounded in our shared digital and ecological landscapes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vibha Sharma. It was very enlightening, insightful lecture which you have given on the intersection of different dimensions, which is related with ecology and digital technology. It was very much interesting to note that how we can become digital humanist and how important it is in today's scenario where digital spaces are increasing and we are somehow becoming digital soldiers in this world. And it was also quite interesting to see that how this environmental concerns can be addressed through Shakespeare, where it works as medium, as method in this digital spaces. So thank you so much. And now we invite questions, comments from the participants who are here, the scholars, paper presenters, professors. If you have any questions, we would like to take it forward. Or any comment, you can just unmute yourself and with your introduction, you can present your question. I think there is no query left, and it's quite, evident that your lecture was self-sufficient to address all the doubts which our participants can have. So now I invite, because we are in the, we are to end this session, but before the words of gratitude, we would not let you, sign off from this virtual platform. So I request Dr. Vasudha Roy, my dear colleague, youngest from all of us in the Department of English, to express gratitude towards our speaker and, of course, the participants present over here. So over to Dr. Vasudha.
Thank you, Neha ma'am. First of all, I think we are very, very grateful to Vibha ma'am, who has had a difficult day to begin with. Ma'am had to rush through a lot to be able to be with us. And of course, as all technology fails us at the moment when we need it. Just a second. So as I said, all technology fails us at the moment when we most importantly need it. And so Vibha ma'am's presentation also had to do several reruns. But it was beautiful and it was very, very thoughtfully blend together the way that you brought digital humanities and environmental humanities, because we are aware that our digital footprints are also causing significant we are endangering the environment in significant ways through our digital footprints. So to bring together digital humanities, environmental humanities, and the Anthropocene, and to place, to give that kind of digital environmental context to the works of Shakespeare, it has been very, very eye-opening for us. I'm sure every member of the audience has been spellbound by the interpretation of the image of the storm and the image of the forest and the various ways in which, this can be read digitally. So thank you very much, Vibha ma'am, for bringing very valuable thoughts to us. Every time that we meet, we are reminded of the documentary that you presented to us during the partition seminar, and that documentary and the way you presented it left many people weeping, and that memory remains permanently associated with you. So today also there were many colleagues who remembered you by the fact that you had presented that powerful documentary to us. So today again, we are very grateful to have had a very impactful presentation by you, and we leave enriched with very, very significant ideas that I'm sure will contribute to our understanding of Shakespeare and environmental humanities, as also to the future work that the scholars here are going to undertake. So our very, very earnest gratitude to you, Vibha ma'am, for being able to be with us and for all the time and patience that you have given us today. Thank you to every member of the audience, and we hope that this audience will remain connected with us. We close with our valedictory this evening, so we hope that we will have our valuable audience with us till then. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vasudha, for the wonderful remarks. I think I should apologize for being so, for all that happened. I don't know why it happened. Everything was said. But there's one thing that I want to say. I'm taking this liberty because all of us are friends. Please think of doing Yaya Bhai. I know you can do if you decide, and you have a wonderful team. You are living in a part of the world which is which has this all these things very nicely set together. I'm especially interested in Purulia Chao or Jharkhand Chao. So think of doing some collaboration where Shakespeare could be staged, and it should be some scenographic presentation in some designated place which is famous for its environment, and how digital medium can be used there very sustainably. It will be a very good example of that what I'm trying to say, and I would love to come to watch it.
Yeah.
Chaliye, thank you so much.
Thank you for this idea, and shukriya for that Shalian prophecy of Shakespeare and environmental humanities. और ये वाला जो है इसके लिए हमारी नेहा मैम is more capable because she has more ideas about Chau and the surrounding of the Chau community here. So I hope that with her help and assistance we can at least do something in this field. Thank you so very much.
Thank you everyone. Thank you, Dr. Saket, for the presence, helping me out. Thank you everyone. Thank you, Neha ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
बहुत शुक्रिया. Good day.
Thank you so much, everyone. And I think this is the time that we should wrap up, and we will again meet in technical session at 12:45. So do join, and then the validity section will be there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.